Welcome to The Explainer. Grab your Sherlock hats, because today we are tearing open a massive digital cold case. We're looking at how modern AI systems are literally structurally failing us, both in the courtroom and, well, everywhere else. It's the uncertainty principle applied directly to evidence law. And honestly, it's going to completely change how you look at the devices sitting on your desk right now. Okay, let's just dive straight into this crisis. That quote from a former international law firm partner, it absolutely nails the problem. Right now, probabilistic AI is basically acting like a blurry, completely unreliable suspect who's somehow trying to do the job of a highly trained forensic expert. It pieces together statistically likely answers from patterns, but when you're in a legal setting where an outcome is strictly binary, like it's either definitively right or it's wrong, guessing just doesn't cut it. All right, Section 1, the AI evidence crisis. So we start our investigation at the literal crime scene of modern jurisprudence. The Daubert standard is what dictates the rules for scientific evidence in a courtroom. If you bring scientific evidence before a judge, it demands testability, known error rates, and peer-reviewed reliability. You have to prove, without a shadow of a doubt, that your methods are universally accepted and fully auditable. But as we're about to see, AI models are currently failing spectacularly at meeting even these basic baseline requirements. Seriously, when you evaluate probabilistic AI against these legal reliability tests, it's a total failure. Why? Primarily because of this black box opaqueness and constant model drift. The AI's underlying brain is constantly shifting and changing over time. Think about it. As a deductive reasoner, as the Sherlock Holmes of your own data, you cannot cross-examine a black box that just guesses its answers. It turns AI outputs into this massive legal liability that fails basic compliance. No way around it.
Section 2. The FPU Gambler's Wood Chipper.
To understand why our suspect's memory is so impossibly blurry, we literally have to bypass the software entirely and look at the bare metal silicon inside our microchips. The real culprit here is the floating point unit, or FPU. When it processes these massive neural networks, the FPU acts like a giant blender, creating what researchers call the wood chipper effect. You might know exactly what copyright data or financial records went into the blender, but because the hardware uses these lossy, non-deterministic approximations, you can never perfectly reverse engineer that forensic smoothie back into its original ingredients. The chain of title, it's just destroyed forever. Now really think about this for a second. 80 to 90% of modern AI compute cycles are just hardware-level approximations based on secret silicon seed tables. When these massive language models do their heavy lifting, they aren't actually calculating exact, concrete mathematical truths. They are fundamentally just guessing the nearest answer that happens to be hardwired into the silicon. Crazy, right? So we're relying on this FPU gambler that essentially just throws darts at a board. And yeah, sure, it's incredibly fast, but it's an absolute nightmare when human lives, critical flight systems, or your own financial ledgers are on the line. The forensic reality requires undeniable digital receipts and traceable ledgers. We absolutely cannot accept a gambler when what we actually need is fully forensic, traceable computing. Which brings us to Section 3, escaping the royalist cloud. So this hardware flaw actually feels a much larger systemic conspiracy, what the sources are calling a 21st century royalist counter-revolution. Centralized tech giants use this trick called interface inversion. Instead of you directly commanding a computer to do a specific task, they totally flip the interface on you. They sit directly between you and your execution, monitoring your prompts, metering out intelligence, and basically managing you. And this right here is the ultimate clash between the royalist liquidator mainframe and sovereign accounting. The royalist model treats you as a digital tenant. You're just renting the right to think from an invisible king, trapped in that blurry fog of guessing. On the complete opposite side is sovereign accounting, or Republican compute, where you hold the absolute deed to your local machine, demanding local execution on your very own physical hardware. You own the whole shebang.
Section 4. The exact ALU surveyor.
To actually escape that foggy miasma of the cloud and reclaim our local execution, we need a hero that can restore absolute, undeniable order. If the blurry surveillance NPU is a gambling suspect throwing darts in the dark, the arithmetic logic unit, the ALU, is our forensic expert armed with a precision laser. The ALU delivers perfect hardware provenance. It's strictly deterministic, dealing only in undeniable, globally accountable truths. The ALU surveyor deals entirely in deterministic exactness. 1 + 1 = exactly 2, universally, every single time on every single machine on planet Earth. By shifting our core logic away from that guessing gambler and over to the surveyor, we finally restore symmetry and reversibility to our computing. And that is exactly what allows us to confidently perform post-mortem forensic audits when something actually goes wrong. Let's look at Section 5, Sovereign Accounting and Payments. So now that we've found our deterministic hardware, how do we actually execute sovereign, undeniable transactions across the web without getting bogged down by a million intermediaries? Enter the Chopsticks design solution. It revives a 30-year-old internet protocol, the HTTP 402 status code. Instead of drafting these massive 50-page legal contracts for a tiny digital transaction, this uses a simple surgical loop. The server asks for payment, an autonomous agent signs a cryptographic proof, and boom, the resource unlocks. It settles instantly in Satoshis on the Lightning Network, totally bypassing all that centralized billing bloat. But to map those payments to physical reality, we absolutely need total determinism. By combining these micropayments with a LIFO, last in, first out, JSON state tree, we completely eliminate the chaos. Think of it like a neatly stacked pile of undeniable records. You only ever need to check the very top file, index 0, to get an immediate, flawless mathematical proof of the entire system's state. We are locking down absolute digital truth for our agents to act upon. Finally, Section 6, Return of the Human Author. All right, we've built the forensic hardware, we've got the sovereign payment bridge, which brings us to the final, absolutely crucial element of this entire investigation, you. True digital sovereignty requires this beautiful philosophical concept called haxeity. It basically defines the absolute unique thisness of a physical event. Think of Paul Revere's ride. It wasn't some abstract idea, it was a specific man on a specific horse at exactly 10 p.m. Sovereignty is the absolute rejection of the machine's random guesswork in favor of your specific, irreversible intent anchored right here in local reality. And why is your intent so incredibly important? Well, it all comes down to agentic tort. Tech scholars point out that developers constantly use humans as moral crumple zones. Just like a car's crumple zone is built to absorb a physical impact, you are positioned to absorb the legal liability of an algorithm's failure. Because you're the one taking the legal hit, you must reclaim your role as the deductive master detective fiercely steering the machine. We simply cannot afford to be reactionary, probabilistic agents. The AI? It's merely a scripter blindly copying tokens based on statistics. To get actual truth, humans have to provide what's called proto-assurance, meaning proactive, painstaking manual steering. We literally must apply the sweat of the brow labor, manually pruning the code and asserting explicit intent, because that is the one and only path to bit-perfect deterministic data. I want to leave you with this final, truly provocative thought. As the great enclosure of the cloud attempts to wall off your digital reality, the machines are really just sitting there waiting for your explicit instruction. So in a world run by statistical engines, will you actively wield the text to maintain your agency, or will you just surrender your reality to the probabilistic guessing of the cloud? Stepping up as the sovereign author is the only way forward. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning the systems around you, and I'll catch you next time.